salary. Just move right over on their own. I mean, it'll take me about a week to get used to sleeping with that. But nutrition will make you sleep. You know, you finally, you will go to sleep. I'll tell you a story about that later on.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. We'll now call this meeting to order for August the 12th, 2019 at 6 p.m. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. The invocation will be given by Pastor Bill Martin of Bethany Baptist.
Let's pray together now. And now, our Father, we thank you, Lord, for the blessings of life that you've given us, for giving us the strength and the ability to gather here tonight. And Lord, first and foremost, we thank you most of all for making a relationship possible with you through the death of your Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. Lord, how exciting to have children in the presence of the council chambers tonight. What joy and laughter they bring to this meeting. And Lord, what a strong reminder to us as adults that little ones are always listening, they're always watching. Help us, Lord, to be mindful of the example we set, knowing that these are the next generation of leaders in our churches and our businesses, even in this council chamber, and that the decisions we make today, tonight, in this meeting will impact generations to come. So, Lord, help us to be wise in what we do. We pray that everything that's done tonight, everything that's said and takes place, will honor and glorify the Lord Jesus Christ. In his name we pray tonight. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Stand-in clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray.
Here.
Councilman Spurlock.
Here.
Councilwoman Sutherland.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. We have a very special proclamation tonight. We will read the proclamation and then we will stand for pictures and hand out the individual proclamations to all of the attendees. Proclamation by the City of Avon Park. Whereas the City of Avon Park has long supported youth sports in our community, and whereas Avon Park Dixie Youth Baseball has an outstanding reputation and history in providing sports programs for our youth, and organized youth sports are known and proven deterrents to juvenile delinquency, gang involvement, drugs, crime, and illiteracy, and organized youth sports help develop character, teamwork, sportsmanship, and social skills for all participants. And whereas the 2019 Avon Park Pitching Machine All-Star Team for 7- and 8-year-old boys is comprised of Kai Cobb, Jace Jackson, Jaden Rodriguez, Colton Elder, Crew Cobb, Colton Boos, Mason Bennett, Hazen Cobb, Ty Parker, Cohen McClellan, Easton Jackson, S.J. Duran, Jackson Hancock, Kaysen Jackson, and coaches Mason Cobb, Chase Cobb, Lee Elder, Will Jackson, and Terry Hancock. And whereas the 2019 Avon Park Pitching Machine All-Star Team finished first place in Division II district games to advance to the state tournament and become state champions with 5 wins and no losses. And whereas the Avon Park All-Star Team became Team Florida and represented our city and state in the Dixie Youth World Series with professionalism, courtesy, and dignity. And whereas Team Florida proudly finished 3rd place in the Dixie Youth World Series in Louisiana, and with a combined postseason record of 11 wins and 4 losses, in honor and recognition of the 2019 Dixie Youth Pitching Machine District and state champions from Avon Park. Now, therefore, I, Garrett Anderson, Mayor of Avon Park, Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of August 11th through August 17th, 2019 as Avon Park Pitching Machine Dixie All-Star Week, and call upon our citizens to recognize and congratulate these athletes for their hard work and outstanding accomplishments. And with that, I'll hand out the actual proclamations to the individuals. We have some pins for you, and we will stand in for some quick pictures with all the council behind the team. That includes all of y'all.
What are we doing?
All the players, you can come forward with coaches.
Ain't never done this before.
Maybe we can get coaches on both sides. That's better.
1, 2, 3.
All right, everybody try to look happy now. Feel like you are happy to be in the city council.
This is just a good picture going back this way.
Okay, champions.
Might be way down. Jared, we supposed to get one of these?
We've got some.
No.
How many more you need?
Do we?
And was there one coach missing or? Okay, I'll get some bits. I'll get some for you. You're
Coaches,
welcome.
did y'all all get one?
Indian
Nice to
get
get
them
one.
out.
I'm gonna get, oh, okay.
All right.
Feel good time there.
Yeah, nice to have one.
That'll be the happiest part of the evening, I promise.
Nah, it's all good.
All right, we're all squared away with the team and the proclamation. We'll get down to business here in just a minute.
All of a sudden, we don't need any more seats.
Yep. Good.
Not too many times you ever come see.
All right. We'll now move on to the consent agenda. First up, we have approval of the minutes of July 22nd, 2019, regular council meeting, and approval of the minutes from July 29th, 2019, special council meeting. Be looking for a motion,
You want them both at the same time?
if that's what you want to do.
All right, motion to approve the minutes of July the 22nd and July the 29th of 2019.
Second.
Okay, do we have any questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray.
Yes.
Councilman Spurlock.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sutherland.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. Under citizens and outside agencies, we have Central Florida Regional Planning Council, ordinance 6-19, second reading and adoption.
This is an ordinance of the City of Avon Park, Florida, amending the Avon Park Unified Land Development Code, amending Article 7, Development Review Process, Section 7.01.00, Pre-application conference to require application fees and allow for recovery of costs for professional services received by the city as part of the development review, providing for applicability, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
All right, good evening, Council. Jeff Schmucker with Central Florida Regional Planning Council.
Evening.
Jeff.
Yes?
I just said evening.
Good evening.
All right, good to see you all. So the ordinance that's before you all tonight for second reading, this is an amendment to the city's land development code. This would be for a application fee and a refundable deposit to be applied at the time of a development review as part of the development review process. Essentially, the fee would cover staff expenses and time, and the refundable deposit would cover essentially the anticipated costs for any costs that are incurred as part of that development review from any outside consultants, legal fees, engineering, and so forth. So with that, we can go into more detail on any of the language if you have any questions. The fees and the deposit have not been, the cost of those, or I guess the cost, you could say, haven't been set yet, so that's something that staff can work with the city attorney to come back before you all, but that'll need to be passed by resolution as part of your fee schedule. But with that, we'll answer any questions that you have. Tonight, again, is second reading, so it is a public hearing.
Okay. Have any questions for Jeff?
You made any changes to the last meeting?
Nope, this is exactly what you saw at the first reading.
Okay.
Okay. If there's no questions for Jeff, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Public hearing for ordinance number 6-19 is now open. Anyone wishing to speak can do so. Don't all jump at once. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Go back to the council. Do we have any other questions? Seeing none, we will entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 0619 on second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any last questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray.
Yes.
Councilman Spurlock.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sutherland.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Next up, we have under attorney updates, the excavation point agreement for Wawa Utility Extension.
This is the agreement to extend the line 27, to provide service to Wawa. I've reviewed it and drafted it, so it's ready to go.
All right. Do we have any questions for Jerry or staff on this?
How's the payment going to be done? Is that upfront cost, or is that going to be in increments, or?
It should be in increments. I mean, this is a contracted project, so there is a pay schedule as part of the bid documents to follow.
That's Florida Prompt Payment Act.
Okay. Do you know how much was originally budgeted for this?
Not right offhand guessing, I want to say it was around 250,000.
Okay. All right. Is this to be completed this year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And did that cost that you recall include the engineering, or is it just the construction?
I believe it was all inclusive, but it was before I entered here, so I would have to go back and look at it if you want a specific.
It'd be nice just to see the
Sure.
breakdown of what was what.
Sure. Be glad to get that for you.
And could you send that to all of us, please?
Yes, ma'am. Sure will.
Any other questions?
No.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the agreement for the Wawa utility extension.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any last questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray.
Yes.
Councilman Spurlock.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sutherland.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
You know, just
Next.
one last thing on that,
Go
if I may. Is this going to, are we going to find out the impact to the actual sewer system on this? Because I know that we're supposed to have so much reserves in the sewer system. Do you know what percentage this is going to take up?
Probably less than 1%.
Wow, okay,
Yeah, it's a pretty small amount.
okay.
Okay. Next up is item number 9, Amherst Consulting Task Authorization number 6, Amendment number 2. Danielle Phillips.
Okay, on
This
the 29th of July, I came to you asking for a waiver of the bid process.
Move that microphone up towards your mouth there. Thank you.
Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay. On the 29th of July, I came to you guys asking for a waiver on the bid process to be able to go out and rebid for our taxiway project. This is the fees associated with the rebid process. We're seeking approval for these fees for the rebid process. They're not going to be covered under the grant. I checked with FAA on this, and they only do the bid process once.
Okay.
So these are going to be fees that are going to be paid by the city in full, and we're not going to be reimbursed for it. But the process is already underway. They're already performing this work, so we're seeking your approval for this $15,000.
Okay. Questions for Danielle?
Nope.
Does this coincide with the email that we got from Amherst? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
And the cost you said is 15,000?
The exact.
15,136.
Yes.
15.
Okay. If there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I motion to approve the Amherst Consulting Task Authorization Number 6, Amendment 2, as described by Ms. Phillips.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second, but I have a question.
Go ahead.
Please give me a better explanation of this email.
Which part?
Everything that concerns us. Yes, I didn't have a chance to read it.
I went to Amherst asking if we can waive these fees. In the past, we had a previous project where they did not charge us for a rebid process. This is the response that Amherst is providing us to the request of the waiver.
What happens if they're the only one that bids?
What do you mean the only ones that bid? They're already our consultant.
Okay. So, never mind. Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilwoman Gregg,
Yes.
Councilman Spurlock,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sutherland,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes?
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Your motion passed unanimously.
Next up, we have item number 10, Kimberly Horn.
Thank you, Danielle.
She's not done yet.
Oh,
She's got one more.
okay, never mind.
Next up, we have Kimberly Horn, Kimley Horn, CCNA Airport Agreement. Danielle, it's you again.
Back on July 22nd, council approved the RFQ selection. The committee chose Kimley Horn as the airport consultant for the next 5 years. We're seeking on an approval of this contract for the next 5 years.
Okay. I only have one question. It does have the fee structure in there. However, we do not have the old fee structure to compare to. So how do they compare to the old?
If you look at the last page of that
There
part of the
is in there,
packet,
okay.
Amherst's fee schedule is attached from 2014.
Got it.
Oh.
So is it higher or lower?
It is a little bit higher. It's still within reason. You have to consider that the fees were put in place 5 years ago.
Right.
I mean, things do increase over time.
Okay.
I also have Jared here from Kimley Horn, who, if there's any other questions you want to direct directly to them about the contract, he's available as well.
All right. Do we have any questions for either Danielle or Kimley Horn representative?
I do. I just assume that the contract is for these billable hours here, and then it won't go up unless you come in front of
We'll
council.
need you to come up to the microphone and answer that.
Right. Do you foresee keeping these these rates for at least however the term of the contract is?
That's what we intend to do. The contract does have language that specifies that the rates could be negotiated up to once per year over the 5-year contract. But our intention is not to go back every year and try to up these. We provided a range through the council and to Danielle to, basically provide some flexibility depending on what kind of task orders the city's requesting from us. We do utilize a different staff mix depending on the needs of the project.
And your rates are within the FAA guidelines, and at least in terms of the typical costs for the different categories?
I would say absolutely.
Would you say they're within 10%?
Of typical rates?
Yeah.
I would say so. Rates tend to vary on consultants pretty wildly.
Mhm.
I don't have any, sometimes a client will ask us to do a rate comparison with how we compare with other consultants. Typically, we are about in the middle is what we try to shoot for.
Okay.
Okay. What is your name, sir?
Jared Mooring with Kinley Horn.
Okay.
I would also like to point out, when we do projects, FAA requires us to do an independent fee estimate to make sure that the fees that they come to us with are within range. That we're not just going by whatever they say. So you'll have a comparison when we send these to federal or state.
Okay.
Great. Good job.
Do we have any further questions on this?
Nope.
What was the term? I'm sorry, I must have missed that part in the
5.
contract. Was
Term is
it
for
5 years?
5 years?
5.
Okay. And it kicks in on what day?
The date you approve. So if you approve tonight.
But we
it will-
currently have a contract with Amherst that expires in September, so we're going to overlap a little bit?
Yes.
And it's my understanding that Amherst will still be involved in the taxiway project.
Correct. As
Until-
long as they have a task order out that has not been completed, they are able to complete outside of their contract term.
Okay.
Is there a cap on the time limit for that, or? In other words, if this project drags on for 2 years, will they still be involved for 2 years?
As long as they have a task order, yes.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Entertain a motion?
Motion to approve Kinley Horn CCNA for the airport.
Do we have a second?
I'll second, but I have a question.
Okay, go
Is there
ahead.
any way we could limit the time of overlapping instead of making it effective immediately? I mean, it seems maybe silly if we have 2 consulting firms out there the rest of the year.
Well, the Amherst would just be on the one project, the one that they have currently going.
So they won't work on that project at all.
That's my understanding. Is that-
Correct.
Okay.
Well, whether there's any type of handshake agreement that you guys will work together to be able to take over when they leave?
Well, it depends on the projects, basically. If there's not any projects that they both are going to work on, there shouldn't be a problem. But if
Okay.
then they're not going to be working on a project, as far as we know, together.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not as if they have, day-to-day operations out there or anything
Okay,
like that.
good. Good answer. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray?
Yes.
Councilman Spurlock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sutherland?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Your motion passes unanimously.
Now, thank you very much, Danielle Phillips.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it.
All right. Item number 11, we have facility encroachment agreement with CSX Trans Corporation, Inc., Ronnie Jones.
Council members, in your packet, you see a facility encroachment agreement between the city and CSX Transportation. We are seeking a motion to approve this agreement in order to obtain the permit to go underneath the CSX railway for our utilities extension to the north end of the county.
Okay. Questions for Ronnie?
I need to point out that the indemnification for the railroad is very, very aggressive. We have no choice. Basically, this is what they do to everybody. It's not like a area that we can negotiate, but I need to make you aware of it. But you will be open to liability, so there's a very high insurance requirement here. And you're probably better off with that anyway, given the liability that they're giving us.
Yeah.
So,
It's so high, though. I mean, do we know, is it going to increase our rates to some exorbitant amount?
That would depend on the timeline that it takes us to actually get under their railroad.
It's not permanent? It's only only the time that we're working on it?
you're going
Okay, I'm sorry, there's 2 different things on that. This agreement needs to be done in perpetuity. But when we're actually doing the construction, we have a very stringent set of rules and regulations that we have to follow with an engineer that has to be there and a surveyor to make sure that that track doesn't move 1 millimeter. I'm not sure what the threshold is, but it can't move
At all.
at all while we're going under that track. Now, granted, we're 20-something feet under it, but if it moves at all, then we have no idea what it's going to do to the timeline at that point.
I just simply say it also that, yeah, it's going to be, you're going to be long-term, it's going to be permanent, basically, so long as you have a line under their track. And so, but you really don't have any choice like all other cities.
No, we don't. I was just wondering what it was going to
You
cost
just have to
in the long
include it in
run.
your utility rates is all.
I'm
And
sorry?
You have to include it in your utility rates. And the cost of construction, so on, I would simply once again implore you, it's for another date to discuss in more detail, that you have a main extension fee associated with having the cost of extending this main, because I'm going to step back in a second and talk about something else as well. But let's go ahead and get he needs this approved so he can move forward, and he's got a critical timeline.
Okay. Further questions on this?
I have a question for you, Ronnie. Under the fact it shows a 12-inch pipeline for water and 8-inch for sewage, is that not only going to cover them, but any other future growth to that area?
Right now, it's anticipated that those two lines will be able to handle future growth for a considerable amount of time. Now, we may end up with multiple developments down the road that could possibly overwhelm it, but there is a possibility of coming in and feeding it from the back as well, so that we can loop the system to provide additional services if need be.
Okay.
And you're doing a jack and bore, so the sleeve is going to be larger anyway, right? So you might be able to pull a larger line through the sleeve, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's good. All right.
Any
So
further?
interestingly, though, we have water running up and down underneath pretty much every railroad track in Avon Park. I would think Main Street has them and stuff. Do we have the same level of liability, $5 million coverage for those? Have they, I've never seen any demand from CSX for that, but for this one, yes, and then it's into perpetuity. So is this, I guess, something new?
Yeah. I don't think so, because, I've heard about these things for quite some time. And they discuss it in the city attorney's blog, basically.
So
how obnoxious they are.
is it per site location, or is
I think
it for all of the city?
I think it's overall, but I'm not, it doesn't say in here. It describes the site in detail.
I would assume we haven't built a main underneath the railroad in quite a very, very long time.
No, but I would
Yeah.
think that they would want some kind of liability coverage on that. I'm not saying I want them to go ahead and offer another one so we have to pay double. I was just wondering what the long-term cost is going to be to the city, if our rates are going to go up dramatically, or if it's just going to be $5 a year.
Right.
I don't know what the value is of this. I know that for a building, the liability increases incrementally, but I have no idea what it is on a railroad track. Anyway, I was just wondering what that cost would be.
Okay. Are you hunting something there, Jerry?
Yeah, terminations under 14.
Do we know the cost of the $5 million?
That's what I was asking. You mean in terms of the insurance?
Right.
No, no. Do we? We don't, do we?
I don't think so.
I don't have a figure for the cost.
No,
from
you have to
CSX.
call the insurance company and find out what that's going to be.
Right.
Yes, so
Right.
14.1 says that, one of the basis for termination is you remove the line encroachment. And, so it doesn't say here when you're finished with construction.
Well, no matter what, we have to approve this, so,
Yes,
Okay.
that's the bottom line.
right, we can't go over. Although there have been pictures on Facebook about some bridge that went over Main Street.
They even
I'm
said-
sorry, some railroad track.
They even sent us a really nice example of what our insurance certificate needs to look like.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, so do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve item number E11, facility encroachment agreement with CXX Transportation, Inc.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further questions?
Do we know what company we're going to get a quote from?
Our own company, I would presume.
Is that the only one we're gonna get for $5 million?
I don't know.
No, it's not.
That's the only quote we're gonna get from
Yeah,
this
it's
one
$5
company?
$5 million of coverage.
We'll probably get a couple. I would imagine that Matt Baker would advise us on that.
I'm not sure you'll have that much time, but I leave that to Ronnie. But you might want to get the insurance now from whoever you can, and then you can renegotiate later on, I assume, you know. and
Don't we
look at-
renegotiate our insurance rates as a city every so many
I wish
years?
I could do a deal like that.
What do you mean? To let it ride, huh?
What's a $5 million policy cost, Danny?
It shouldn't be too much.
Okay.
Oh, what is that? 500? 50?
You write it? Can you write one?
No,
Well, and the thing of it is it has waiver of subrogation, which would cost us more, and, you know, we make them an additional insured, which is pretty typical. We do the same, we do both those things with our contractors, so.
Just a question.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Further questions?
I have just one more question.
Go ahead.
What happens if a business that goes onto that facility has super heavy duty, big, huge trucks, and their back and forth on it ends up causing a problem? Is that something we need to have with those new companies, or do we just let it go and have the coverage ourselves and be done with it?
Once we get underneath that railroad,
It's not moving?
it's not moving.
And you have.
Their inspector will be there the entire time that we're there. And the contractors that we met with during our pre-bid meeting indicated that they should be able to get the jack and bore completed in one day, once they have the bore pit and the receiving pit stabilized. So we're hoping one day is all we're gonna impact CSX. After that, we're out of their easement and moving on.
Yeah, it's really, really uncommon to have jack and bore, because you have a sleeve, a large, it's like a pipe, and it goes inside that pipe. So even if there's a leak inside there, it's not going to show up underneath their stuff. Our old utility, we had one under I-75, you know, 8 lanes of I-75. So, you know, same thing.
The train shaking to make more than any truck going back and forth
Probably.
every week go across.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray?
Yes.
Councilman Spurlock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sutherland?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Your motion passes unanimously.
All right, we have another attorney update.
Yeah, you know, since we're talking about this in the same vein, we have 2 grants of easement. One, a grant of easement for the pipeline, and we need a parcel of land from Mr. Cruz for where the lift station's going to go. And he's assigned a value to that, to the easement. He wants $30,000, and he wants $20,000 for the parcel of land. He had initially said, well, why don't you just give me credit for impact fees? But as I've said before, I think that's a mistake, and aside from the fact that your ordinance doesn't allow for it anyway at this point. I mean, you could amend it to that, but I don't know, you don't have time to do it now, because we need to have these done. But even if you amended it, it'd be my recommendation you not do that. Because generally what they want to do is lock in a price for that, and your impact fees go up over time. It's one reason. And the other reason is that almost invariably they want way more impact fee waiver than what the value is of the easement or property. And so, you end up with a problem in that regard. I personally, I think, just based on utility back history, I think that the 30 and the 20 are high, but you don't have a choice. I'll let Ronnie speak to that.
That's really it. I mean, we've got 3 easements that we need from this individual, and then we also have a 50 by 100 foot parcel of property that we have to have for the lift station. There's no other way around it. So we have 3 weeks in which to get all of our documentation finalized and up to the DEO for their approval. Because without their approval, I can't issue anything to our future contractor to do the work, and we won't make the September 30 deadline. So we have 3 weeks, so we can either go back and renegotiate and come back to you in an emergency meeting, or we take the offer that we have on the table and move forward.
I hate to ask this question, but Do you know if these items were looked at in the original engineering cost assessment a while ago?
As far as the easements?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, they were, and we were originally told that they would probably be donated.
And
But
now
this
that-
was a year ago, so things obviously have changed.
Uh-huh. I can guess why. Thank you.
So what I need is your approval on those figures so we can execute an easement. The documents that I do are fairly standard, but obviously I couldn't live with the changes they made regarding impact fees, but if we're going to insert a price, then off we go to the races. So in order to meet our deadline, we need, as he said, we either need to have approval tonight or, renegotiate and come back in an emergency meeting, if he's willing to negotiate.
All right, well, I'll open it up to the council. Do you want to make a motion tonight, or would you rather see a special meeting in the very near future?
Actually, I'd like to make a motion tonight because I'm afraid if we put it off, it may cost us more.
Well, it's always a
Or just get more
possibility.
delays, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, somebody that offered the other option down the line that would have cost us more money, we better take what we can get and do it now. The impact fees. This was well thought out, so he gave option A and B, give me this much or give me this, and which could be more later. So I think we should move forward. If I need to make a motion to approve those two items, I do so.
So did you make a motion?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions? No questions?
How
You're
about you,
kidding.
Mayor? You got any comments?
Well, 'cause
I
we're
got
not-
plenty of comments, but I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Anyone else?
When do you anticipate, once this is approved, Jerry, when do you think you'll be able to turn it over and?
It's all up to him. I can have this thing done, and in fact, I pretty much have to have it done today or tomorrow, because I leave for the week, and then that'll throw him behind. So I'm going to get it done tomorrow morning, first thing. Then it needs to be, if those easements are not contiguous, that needs to be 3 easements then.
Correct.
And so, I assume that he priced that in. It's not, he's thinking of just one, okay.
Right.
So as far as the deed, that's just a property deal that we can do at some point. It's not as pressing as the easement, right?
Correct.
Do you need that, the deed to the property?
No, that can be done later. We've got time on that one.
Okay.
Now, point of clarification, I need to make sure that I can document to the DEO that we are going forward with that parcel.
Yeah.
Because when they review our construction plans, they want to see if
Okay.
we own the easements and we own the property, we have to be able to certify that.
Well, I can put together a purchase and sale agreement or have somebody at the firm do it while I'm gone. That's not a big deal. They do land deals all the time. So that's basically what we're talking about, because it's going to be the same as any other one that I've talked to you about. If you're going to acquire property, you all need to choose whether you want to do an environmental assessment. My recommendation is you do, and then title, survey, all that stuff. Makes it title insurance worthwhile, and then get a warranty deed. So
I so move.
I'll let Bernice Saxon handle that for you.
Did you second that?
If you can get that paperwork to me tomorrow, I'll get it signed.
The easement I can get to you tomorrow. I'm just going to give you the one easement, and you just make copies of it, and and then fill in the different address, the legal
legals.
descriptions will
Yeah.
be the attachments to them.
Yeah, I've got the legals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because everything else will be the same.
Okay.
All
Just need
right.
to vote.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call a roll.
Councilwoman Gregg?
Yes.
Councilman Spurlock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sutherland?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Y'all are batting 1,000 tonight now.
One other
Jinx it.
item on my update, I wrote it in, it's not on your thing, it's just a really quickie. I spoke to
Yana.
Yana Concrete, his attorney, and, we had a very pleasant conversation about it. Really, there's not much we need to do other than get the transfer of the on-site property to us, since the old contract basically made their buildings into trade fixtures. We just need to have that, those trade fixtures deeded over to us, which is bill of sale because they're personal property. And I put together the bill of sale and everything and sent it to his attorney. I haven't heard back from him, but that's where we stand right now. So that's ready to go whenever they respond back. They did mention to me, and I said I was going to mention this here at the meeting. They wanted to send somebody, but they didn't apparently send anybody. That said, well, maybe we might need a little bit more time for parts of it, and the other parts you can take over right now. I said, that's not for me, because that's for you to bring to the council and get approval on, because really they've been a holdover tenant since last year, this time last year, because that's when the lease expired.
Mhm.
So I just, not that it means a whole lot.
No, it means a lot. I think, we really haven't figured out the long-term, what's going to be done with that property, and I guess that's something we can discuss at another meeting, because it's just a lot to it. I mean, which I would hope that we would have on the agenda in the near future, what we're going to do with that property, because it is a huge piece of property in terms of industrial.
It's almost 3 acres, I believe.
Yeah, and, that's pretty valuable stuff, so. Anyway, if you don't mind putting that on the agenda, I don't know what the sentiment of the council is, but.
For future discussion?
Yeah.
So Jerry, let me ask you a question. So you say what part of the building that we could take over? Because I know we had a tenant that was waiting to hear from us, and then we know it's just a temporarily fix for that tenant right now, but.
Yeah, he couldn't elaborate because he wasn't clear himself, because it was the attorney, not the owners.
Yeah,
I told them they need to let us know, because otherwise, we need to move forward and get this thing, get out and get us in there.
It's been indicated in the past that it would be the office portion.
The office
that would be
portion,
first,
okay.
because that's something that they've already cleaned out, which is the part that we intended to utilize for
Okay.
the other organization. So
I would hope they bring some kind of proposal to, David to bring to you.
yeah, I would assume what they're worried about is a lot of that equipment that they have out there.
It's been a while since I've been in that
Yeah,
building.
there's a lot of stuff, and I don't know what all it is, but it's a lot of stuff. So
Okay.
I'm sure it'll take some time to get it out. Okay, so we have no, we don't have any motion on that. That was just an update.
Just an update.
All right.
I'm done, thank you.
Item number 12, 2016 Mack Truck front load garbage truck, engine repair. Ronnie?
Council members, in your packet, you have a memorandum from my office giving us 2 options for proceeding with the repair or replacement of an engine for one of our garbage trucks. In my memorandum, I chose option 2 and listed the reason behind it. Though it is the more expensive of the 2 options, my fear is going forward, some of the damage that's been done to our existing engine will end up causing future repairs that will exceed the cost of going with option 2 initially. So there's.
Okay.
And I concur with that. I think that it would be a better option to go with the new engine.
When do we expect to replace this truck?
It's a 2016 with less than 100,000 miles, so it still has a lot of service life left in it. It's one of our newest trucks.
Probably just out of warranty too, huh?
Just out of warranty for year and mileage, that's correct.
Got it. So the realistic life of this truck is probably until when?
At least another 5 more years.
At least 5, okay.
At least that.
Okay.
And 2, the repaired engine will only give us a 1-year warranty.
Mhm.
If you go with a replacement, you get a 3-year, 350,000 mile warranty. So we stand to do better with it over time.
Okay.
Do you know how frequently we replace these? I mean, is it a common thing?
It's not, and that's one of the things that's got us somewhat puzzled, is that this is a valve that broke loose on the internal part of the engine. And you have to understand, I mean, these things are turning thousands of times a minute. So when a piece of metal like a valve breaks loose, you have a valve, you have springs, push rods, all of that just completely came loose and is being crushed in the internal part of this engine before it finally did enough damage to where we could see it and hear it physically on the outside and shut it down. So it's not something that happens frequently, but it does happen.
Is that not considered a manufacturer defect?
A lemon?
Or a red light come on when something like that happens, like in the regular cars, you say, check your engine, check your engine.
You don't have time, because when it happens, you literally have a few moments
Oh,
before it completely locks you out.
I don't know.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay.
As far as lemon, how long do you want it to sit and fight about it?
Got it.
Who does the maintenance on these vehicles?
It has been done by Nextran, where we purchased the vehicle, but now that we've got a new mechanic on board, we're trying to do a lot more of the maintenance of our larger equipment in-house to save cost.
Okay.
This is just a job much bigger than we're capable of doing in-house, redoing this engine.
Okay. Any further questions for Ronnie or other staff on that?
And we'll have what do we use in the meantime when this one's out for repair?
We have two
I mean, we're
other
not
truck-
using it right now, right?
No, ma'am, we have a total of 3 front loaders, so we have 2 others that we're using now.
Okay.
So David, do you have a driver for each one of these? Are they always operational when all 3 are working? Are they all being used, or does one just kind of sit as a standby?
Ronnie? We have 1 front loader driver, and that's all that we have. So we need to add 1 more front loader driver to our staff so that we can give our current employee a chance to take a day off, be out sick, anything like that.
I would assume you probably rotate these trucks out.
We do, as
Right.
much as possible.
That
So
was your
let
question,
me
wasn't
clarify,
it?
we
Yeah.
do have an individual
Kinda
that can
in there.
operate this truck as well. So on an as-needed basis, he will step in when this employee needs to take a day off, but we truly do need another individual to do it on a full-time basis.
And just for descriptive purposes, what exactly does this truck do?
If you've ever been to a restaurant or anything that has that steel container behind a gate,
Dumpsters.
that's what this truck empties.
So they wouldn't be picking up debris on the side of this is strictly for dumpsters?
Correct. So this isn't the guys that are picking up your garbage at your driveway or the clam truck that's picking up your yard debris. This is strictly for those steel boxes.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we in the process of advertising for that position?
Yes.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Do we?
Not yet.
No.
No.
I'll make a motion that we accept option number 2, purchase a new engine at a cost of $47,172.63 with a 3-year, 350,000-mile warranty.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any last minute questions? Seeing none, we'll call a roll.
Councilwoman Gregg?
Yes.
Councilman Spurlock?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sutherland?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Your motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item number 13, we have the fire union contract pension obligation.
Yes, at the last meeting when we set the fire assessment rates, Councilmember Sutherland requested council be updated with the new pension obligation. And you'll see an email in here that Ricky sent to us that the city contribution for October 1, 2019 is $343,261. The state contribution is $39,835 compared to $398,738 and $39,835 for the previous year. So it actually went down significantly this year.
But
Obviously,
that's because you had retirees that were at the highest rate,
Could be.
and because you're still missing 2.
Mhm.
So that's going to build back up, but not the retiree portion because they haven't had that longevity.
Correct.
So,
it probably also had something to do with how well the markets did.
Yes.
As-
well,
yeah.
but the state contribution is still the same.
Oh, I see. So that would change if they
No,
brought
the
in
state
more?
contribution is consistently the same,
Yeah.
Right.
isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think, yeah, I think it's the same. No, the only reason why it goes up or down is the longevity of the people that are at the highest end. So
Up
the
the
contributions
actuary,
obviously
yeah.
are more because they get paid more.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And their percentage equals more, and the city's contribution rather.
But doesn't the city's portion go up in a poor economy when the
Yeah.
markets don't perform well?
Yeah, but
And
I mean.
didn't that vary? I mean, wasn't it like
No, but these are
$100,000?
contributions.
I see.
This is a contribution. It's not the rate of return that we're looking at. We're looking at a contribution.
But wouldn't our contribution go down if they received more rate of return?
No,
No,
no.
I did not know that.
So they have a guaranteed rate of return of 8%, that if the market falls below that, we pay the difference.
I believe
Right.
it's less than
Yeah.
8% now.
And it's less?
It's-
Well, but in the end, I mean.
I think it's
it-
7.5.
Yeah, it's just the retirees are what throw this off. It's great to look at this now, but next year, it'll go up incrementally as you have longevity with your staff. And then when you're fully staffed, obviously, that's gonna go up as well. So it's a,
But don't forget,
it's a
as
moving number.
as they add employees, they'll be putting money into it
Correct.
also. So that'll kind of offset some of that.
Anyway, that was just an update. for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Good job.
Okay, the next item is personnel manual changes. I'm asking for a motion to approve these, the personnel manual changes. All changes have been approved. authored or provided by our labor attorney, Brian Koji. You'll see some changes and updates. These are some of them. There are more coming in the very near future, but this is what we've brought forward for you right now. Are there any questions on these?
So you said you're going to have more coming in the future?
In the
We're
very
going to
near
go at it
future.
incrementally like we had talked, okay.
Yes.
I have no questions. Anyone else?
So how does this work? If it's done by resolution, are you going to want a resolution each time, or how does that work, Jerry? I mean, if we're going to have incremental changes on a regular basis to the personnel policy, are we going to do a resolution every single time we do the incremental changes, even if it's next week or
Yeah.
3 weeks from now?
Yeah. If the original approval was by resolution, then
Yeah.
that's the way you need to do it consistently.
Okay. Okay.
Wouldn't we need a resolution number?
Generally, they need a resolution in writing.
Right.
Right. So we don't have that.
Yeah, that's my mistake.
I have a question maybe you can answer, Jerry. Under 315, they deleted the zero tolerance of violence in the workplace, which actually included the no weapons or firearms. And so they admitted that in the change, but then again, on the last page, under the Highlands County, they still have the 202.1 violence defined that has the carrying or displaying of weapons and property. So are we permanently removing that or adding that or changing it?
I think you're adopting the Board of County Commissioners policy is what I saw from that.
Yes.
And I didn't do this and so on, but I do agree. I don't like zero tolerance policies for violence or fighting, because you never know if somebody's not defending themselves. But display of a firearm is a totally different situation. That's something somebody chooses to do, as opposed to somebody defending themselves and you walk in and two people are fighting and then you fire both of them. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I didn't have any problem with what I saw from Highlands County Board of County Commissioners policy.
So are we adopting that portion about the weapons?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything in yeller.
Okay, so can we approve this, or do we need to wait till we have a formal resolution?
Well, you'll need a formal resolution and have it be read.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're gonna have to read the title just like of a resolution.
Okay.
So
I'll have
next
that ready
time.
for the next meeting and may have the other changes at that meeting as well.
Okay. I would suggest still probably making them separate, since everyone's kind of in agreement that they're okay with what's here. But they may
Okay.
have a problem with the other stuff, so just kind of keep them separate that way.
Sounds like a winner to me.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Good idea.
The next one, item 15, we had discussed in the past about changing our motion, the amending the procurement policy to include online sales. There is a website called govdeals.com that is very, very friendly to governments. There's no charge for it. It allows us the opportunity to sell things in an international market and require the buyers to actually pick them up here, to where we don't have to take them down to an on-site auctioneer or whatever like that. And I've only just changed those particular words in there on that last page of that, just to add online sales in dispensing of surplus, which is item number B2 at the very end there.
Okay. Jerry, do you have any issues with that?
No, I do not. I have an additional issue with regard to your procurement policy when you finish this.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions on the online sales?
Now, I do have a comment, a positive comment under B4 about items not sold that we consider no commercial value, either disposed, landfill, given away to a nonprofit agency. I remember a few years ago we had, I believe it was a lawnmower that really had no value, and we were deciding at that time what we were going to do with it. Should we give to somebody, try to sell it, or whatever? I think because that kind of covers the fact that if it really had much value, we don't want it, we can't sell it, then I'm all for giving it to a nonprofit if they're interested.
Yeah, I think we we added a policy procedure for that.
Yeah.
And it's allowed under your code of ordinances.
Yeah, it's in the policy as well.
Okay.
Right. I did that about 4 years ago.
Yeah, we gave away those weights, remember, that were at the Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we adhered to the new
Yep.
section of the policy.
Yeah, that was good too.
Okay. Any further questions on the online sales? Seeing none, entertain a motion.
I need to read the title again. A motion to approve the amendment to the procurement policy to include online sales.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions?
Now, isn't the procurement policy also by resolution, or no?
I believe it is.
So that needs a resolution as well, right?
Learning as I go along here.
Next time.
Okay,
All right.
we will have a
Item-
resolution on that one.
So I made a motion, what do I do now? No one seconded it, so it just
That's
dies?
why it
I
died.
did, but
Okay. Oh, you seconded?
Let her die.
Let her die, okay.
let her die.
On that same topic
what the
regarding
attorney
the
says, huh?
policy, I would just ask that you consider having the council approve bids for, a certain amount or higher of equipment or engineering or things like that. It's a process of delegation. What you're doing is you're delegating to a committee. And I just, I've never liked that committee format for large dollar items. I think it should be done here in the public. There might be a chilling effect associated with a committee meeting at the city manager's office and things like that, even though it's done in the public forum. That's just my recommendation, that you do those larger ones. You do make the decision, you score them, and go from there. That's my recommendation.
What is the dollar value on that you think?
I don't know, at least 100,000, maybe as much as 50, that's up to you. And by the same token, you think about how many you'll have to do here. That's why the dollar value is there, because you don't want to be doing absolutely everything, here. Professional services, I think you should do here. That's just, regardless, especially continuing contract engineers and architects and things like that. When that should be your opinion to me. That's just my call, not casting any dispersions on the staff or the people that were on the committee. I'm sure they all did a fine job. But that I'm here, that's been my long-term point of view. Okay.
Any other comments on that?
Well, if I played devil's advocate on that, if the committee has a scoring system that they provide to council, is that not enough?
Yeah, if you want to have a committee come up with a scoring
No, I mean,
system.
let's just say a city manager, employee-based committee, if they had a scoring system.
If they had scoring sheets.
Yeah, but I mean, those are made public.
And while they should not only be made public, they should be made part of the package for the bid procurement. But you should approve those, that before you actually have them come here.
So you're saying the council ought to approve it, that we ought to review the bids, that it ought to be on us to go ahead and approve?
Yeah.
But there's no dollar value to that?
Well, not for engineering,
Because they're
architects,
RFPs
CCNA.
and RFQs.
Well, because their projects may be, $5 million over a 10-year period, $10 million or whatever, of smaller projects that fit under the CCNA requirement. But I would say even, construction projects, things like that, same thing. I mean, I think that you should certainly take the expertise of your staff and utilize it, and anybody else that you can, that will provide that. But,
Well, I know it's been a long, long time, but consultants used to come up and do their spiel here at the podium, and the council would review it. I know that the county does that.
I think I was in Pasco County, and Pasco County does it. I mean, it's a huge county. And I just think that that's a good practice.
Well,
If you're not going to do it that way, then you should select the committee yourselves, just like you do any committee, and you should approve the sheets. You can take recommendations on it from them if you want, but I think that's stuff that you should do.
Right.
And they should meet here, just like a regular meeting, or committee meeting. They should meet here to evaluate, if you're going to have a committee do it. That's my opinion.
So, just so we're clear, recently, whenever it came to the engineers for the airport, that was one of them, that there was a committee that scored them. But the council still approves that ultimately. So how is what you're describing different from us ultimately?
Because you're evaluating all
And it's out in the open in the sunshine. It's not in an office. That's the difference.
Okay. But ultimately, it's still up to us.
it's
anyway.
more work for you, I
Yeah,
agree,
but.
but that's just my point.
But it's not in the open. I mean, I see what Jerry is saying. I like what he's saying, and I'd like to take his advice on that. I think it's prudent for us to make sure that there is absolutely no question on anything when it comes to those. If it's out in the open, we get to discuss it in public right here, and if staff wants to get up and say, I like these people because I worked with them in the past and it influences your decision, so be it.
Okay, so
But-
are you saying that we are the committee now?
We are the committee, or we appoint a committee, and it could still be the same city staff, but we should have more say in who we hire for the 100,000 or more, 50,000 or whatever. I don't know, he hasn't given us a number, but I like the idea of the transparency of it.
I think any continuing contract,
there's a
engineer or
reason for it.
architect, you should do that. Because even though there's, maybe not a lot you have right now, but over time, as a continuing contract, engineer or architect, they'll be doing a lot of projects.
Yeah, and I think that any consultant probably has been through either A, the government, or B, an employee-based one. I don't think that there's going to be any issue with them. If anything, the airport, for example, the consultants used to do a presentation in front of the airport committee, so everybody had their say in front of them. It wasn't just off of a sheet of paper, and let's score them based off of the paperwork we have. You get to deal with the personalities and all.
I think a public meeting is going to be more tame than a private meeting.
More
private
what?
More tame. In a private meeting, you're going to be more apt to say what you really feel, than in a public meeting.
But that's just it. Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, I'm never going to hold back. Maybe you will, but,
Okay.
I just, it leads to transparency, and on top of the fact, it also takes the burden off of the employee that if there's any perception of relationships or anything else like that, it's no longer part of the problem.
Yeah, I'm just simply making the point that ultimately, we make all the decisions anyway. So,
But we always rubber stamp what's given to us. So if we have more
maybe
say.
you do, I don't.
Well,
I mean,
no, I'm just saying, well, I
it's
did,
the same thing
hey.
as a lot of like the CRA projects. Yeah, I mean, how many times has the CRA advisory said one thing and the council did the other? I mean, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about contracts that are going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. CRA doesn't spend that much money in 1 year, much less
Just
3.
using it as an example.
Hmm?
I'm
Yeah,
just
no, I know
simply
what
saying
you're
the council always ultimately makes a decision anyway, so it just seems like a moot point to me.
I think that we should have more of a say of how our money gets spent, not the employees. After
They
all,
don't
we're
They
responsible.
don't have any say, so they just simply have an opinion, which they would have at a public
Right.
meeting also.
But like you say, if you're in a meeting with employees only, and one of them has a relationship with this company that does a great job, and the other one likes them because, they brought chocolate to them, then they're going to get a subliminal increase in their little scoring because we like them. And we don't like these because, they weren't as nice, or they didn't present as well, or their packet isn't as clean, whatever. I just think that, if you want to keep it in the open, like we want to do everything that we do, then why not do it in the open? It would take an extra, 20 minutes of our time to review it?
Yeah, I just don't see it as being more open because the same flaws that you see in employees are the same flaws that council members have. I mean, it's all the same. We're all just people, imperfect people. And we make the ultimate decision anyway, so,
Yeah.
I just.
That's a question I have for Jerry then. I understand what you're saying, and it makes sense to me, but what the mayor says, it comes back to us anyways, then what's the difference? If we're gonna make the final decision, why do we have to say that we're gonna make the final decision when we already do? Is that basically what he's saying?
Yes. But, I mean, I don't hold a candle either way. I mean,
No,
personally,
I'm
it
asking
doesn't matter
Jerry.
because
I
the
mean,
council still makes a decision,
Yeah.
but, whatever.
I like it in the open, but if what the mayor says is true, Jerry, and that's what you tell me, then I think it's
Well-
the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're going to review all the whole package of their responses to the bid package, and before you make a decision, and you're going to hear what they have to say that satisfies you, then not a problem. Ultimately, it is your decision, has to be your decision, and but I just think it's aired out better in the open meeting.
Okay.
That's just my point of view.
Okay.
I think it's obviously the point of view of a lot of large governments as well.
What's your dollar threshold then?
Well, like I said, CCNA, anything that's going to be a continuing contract, it should be any of those, because those are long-term contracts they're going to get a lot of work over time to do. Other than that, maybe 100,000 or, for those types of projects that are 100,000 or more. And you might say, wow, we're doing too many of these. Let's move it to 200,000. Or maybe, that's up to you. I haven't drafted anything, so it's nothing before you. I didn't want to, open a huge can of worms on that's not even on the agenda. But I just wanted to voice my opinion on that because when I reviewed your package, your agenda package, I said, this just sticks in my mind. But if you're going to do bid committees, the proper way to do bid committees for the members of that committee be chosen by you, okay? And then, you select the scoring sheets, okay, that you want to see, not the ones that somebody thinks might be, apropos for that group.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
Or we schedule the vendors to do presentations in front of you.
I prefer that. I think it's more.
I wouldn't mind that either.
Yeah, I mean, it's
if
like
they're
a job,
willing to
it's a
come,
job interview.
Yeah.
Ask questions.
Yeah, I mean, I know
That
that
would-
we just recently approved Kinley Horn, and I don't know anything about him other than what was on paper. So, I mean, we're going by the recommendation of city staff, and that's all we know. But the public has no clue who they are. I don't have a clue who they are, and I was the only one that voted against it.
Well, let me point
So-
out that it wasn't that I have anything against Kimley Horn.
No, no,
certainly,
no, neither do I.
because-
I'm just
because
using
I
them
think
as an
they're
example.
They're an excellent engineering firm.
And I have no doubt, but I'm just saying, no one else knows that. So I don't know, to me, it's about the transparency of it, and that's all there's to it. And on top of that, I wouldn't want to be an employee that has any perception of any type of relationship with an organization that ends up getting recommended by that employee on that panel. So, we leave it cleaner here because we don't have those relationships. We don't work with those individuals.
Hopefully.
Well, hopefully, but doubtful. I mean,
Yeah.
It's good points. You want me just to go ahead and start trying to set up things like that? Anything with over $100,000 threshold, just set it up for.
I don't know what the dollar, I think RFQs and RFPs are given because they're just, you don't know what they're gonna be,
Right.
right?
Well, reoccurring contracts, other than engineers, what's some other types that we have of reoccurring contracts?
That's pretty much it.
We got like road work, like with excavation.
Yeah, no,
like-
well, those are already based off of bid amounts. That's based off of the lowest bidder, so that wouldn't be one because that's not based off of a score.
Are there any other ones?
No, we had
No.
Excavation Point did have a continuing.
Yeah, they did,
Contract with us.
and it was based off of line items, and
it's
that went to
expired
bid.
right now.
Yeah, but that one went to bid, and there were other competitors in there, and no one else met their same threshold, or at least their number. So that was a competitive bid, per the procurement policy. So RFQs and RFPs are just a little bit different because it's an unknown quantity, but
But-
it's like hiring a person for 5 years.
By the way, we had a pre-bid meeting the other day on the actual construction for the 27 extension. We had 5 contractors show up,
Primaries?
and EPI wasn't one of them, which kind of surprised me.
Yeah, well, maybe their plate is full. I mean, they do a lot of business.
It probably is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now you're just looking for direction of if we want to.
Is
bring
that
this
by
up.
resolution because it would be part of the procurement policy or what?
Yeah, if you're going to amend the procurement policy to provide that in there, and maybe that's the best way to do it, to be precise as to what you're going to do, and that way they can consider it. If you want to give me a call, we can talk about it.
Let's do that.
All right.
Let's make sure we're all on the same page with
So this
that.
will come up at a future meeting?
Probably the next meeting,
Okay,
Okay.
because I don't want to hold up the Gov Deals thing.
Right.
got it. All right, item number 16, we have the RPAC playground equipment. Agreement expires March 20th, 2020.
Okay, this one has been kind of a sticky wicket. It's kind of gone back and forth on a lot of different levels for way too long, in my opinion. It's been almost 2 years since they've started this process. But because of that, the manufacturer price went up.
Yes, considerably.
So it's going to cost us about $16,000 more than what we had originally anticipated almost 2 years ago. So I wanted to bring this to you since we had an interlocal on this, and I know it's not changing the interlocal because of we're already, the county's not going to pay anything more on it. Theirs is set. But because of this particular issue, and it has changed as often as it has, I wanted to just, in transparency, as Ms. Sutherland says, just make sure that y'all understand where I'm coming from on this. We've got the money to pay for this. That's not an issue. So I just wanted to bring it to you and say, can I have your blessings to move forward with this, with the extra money that we have to pay for it?
Why wouldn't we move forward?
You'd lose the money if you don't.
Because stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's an additional $16,000 that we would have to put in there when you say we got the money, right?
Yes,
So
My
where,
thought would be,
yeah, and
go
it's,
ahead, yeah.
$16,228.24, actually.
Yeah,
But the
so you're
total-
not rehabbing the MLK one, that one got torn down, that's the one that, it's gone, right?
yeah.
So-
That's going to Durham
So it's
Martin.
going to Durham Martin, and you're getting more play kiddie structures over there, is that what it's for?
Yes.
And then the other one was there something here for Donaldson Park, or was it
It
strictly
was-
MLK to Durham
It's
Martin?
Donaldson Park also. It's
Exopod.
It's like a fitness
Oh, yeah, the
trail type
Exopod.
thing. Yeah.
My question to you where it talks about the increase, it says July 2019, obtain new quotes. Was that one quote or more than one quote?
That was on the original equipment that we had agreed to do 2 years ago.
And so that went up 112,000 plus.
No. It only
Yeah.
went up
Increase two. Gotcha. I'm good.
4,500 is what it actually
Got
went
it.
up.
Okay.
So do you have to piggyback on this again?
Piggyback to,
Weren't these originally piggybacks?
yes.
So do you have to do another piggyback,
No,
or can you
no.
just go with what you have and just increase the amount? I mean,
It's my understanding in talking to the vendor that it's all still good on that original one.
but it's good on our side too, is what I'm, okay.
So do we need to make a motion just to
Just to move forward, Chris.
move forward
Mhm.
as is?
Do we have a motion?
Oh, for sure. Make a motion to increase the funding for play structures to the amount of, what was it?
112 total.
$16,228.24 for the playground equipment at Durham Martin and Donaldson Park
I'll second that.
Okay,
and Lake Tulane.
we have,
Yeah, I was gonna say
That's
more than that.
actually the increase over what our match is.
Right.
It's all
Yeah.
back.
For all three parts.
Yes.
Yes.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes,
Councilman Spurlock,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sutherland,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Your motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item number 17, Christmas decorations for Main Street.
Okay, I had each of you just kind of pick out what your favorites were, and there was nothing that really rose to the top as being unanimously agreed upon.
You all have different tastes?
It was kind of all over the charts there, but we've attached a spreadsheet here with the prices of the items that were picked out by individual council members, along with the pictures, and that's in your packet there. And on the 4 areas that y'all designated to do this, on the mall, there are a total of 16 vintage light poles that we'd be attaching to if we did the banner type.
It seems like a very low
16?
number.
16. I counted them twice today.
but David, now didn't this include some areas on the south side as well, or just the mall area?
This is just the mall, but we were talking about doing something extra at the Diamond down there.
No, I thought when we first started talking about this, I thought that we had said that we were going to put some, because they had the decorative lights as well on the south side, then they were going to include it.
Fix the plug-in so they could put
There
them
you
down
go.
there. Yeah.
Yes, but that wasn't what, according to the minutes of that last meeting, Mayor Anderson said, let's pick 4 places to focus on. That was the Little Italy area, the community center, the gazebo area, and the city hall area. And that was what we did. There was discussion on that, on repairing some of the things, some of the light poles, yes, and we'll take care
So
of
there
that.
would be no decoration on the south side for Christmas decoration?
Not unless we vote for it.
We can do whatever you decide tonight.
Right.
'Cause
So,
it's all here.
do we have any money specifically budgeted for this?
No.
No.
We do not.
Okay. So basically, the money is going to come from
There was a suggestion to take it from CRA,
Okay.
a suggestion,
Obviously, we can't make that decision here tonight.
correct?
And it's not in the plan for Christmas lights, but yet it's still a decorative feature. So, I mean, that's one of the things that we have to discuss at the CRA meeting, because there's other issues with CRA right now.
Well, we normally do decorate for
Yeah.
Christmas. So where does that money come from?
General fund.
I really don't know. I don't know, do we have a warehouse full of old things that we used to put up?
We do.
And that's the problem. They get stored in a warehouse where it's outside or,
And it's
you
no
know,
good.
humidity affected, and by the
Yeah.
time you use them again the following year, half of them don't work. But I know that we had talked about storing some or leaving some outside, like the ones in front of the Jack.
Yes.
We have an update on our light situation by Miss Anne Marie here.
Anna Marie Feeney, 234 East Camphor Street, Avon Park, Florida. As a matter of fact, just this morning, I was at the Christmas warehouse to look to see what was there and what wasn't there and what was needed. It's a mess, but we do have some lights out there. The decorations are not stored outdoors, they're indoors.
Yeah, but they're not air conditioned.
Climate control.
No.
I mean, climate controlled.
It's a barn.
You're
It's
right.
it's a barn, but it's shaded, it gets hot, but it doesn't get so hot that a lot of it's been damaged. What I need to do, with the council's permission, is go in there and really dig deep and see exactly what's there, so that way you have a more informed decision on what we already have, and then you can move forward from there.
So that money just comes out of
General fund.
general fund,
Yeah.
and that strictly would be labor.
Yeah.
The actual cost of new lights, I think we normally spend some every
Well,
year. Does that come out of,
Those lights that are in front of the Jack, I think, were just around 6,000. No, maybe 2,000. I can't. They were $45 per orb.
but did CRA pay for that?
This is
No.
an excellent time to be discussing this because we're having a budget workshop
Right.
Saturday morning,
So-
and that would be in the new budget
Yeah.
year. So it's a great time to talk about it.
And in the past, the Christmas lights were purchased the day after New Year's when they were all on sale, and they would be stored because you
Right.
got them at 50% off.
Yeah.
So,
Well, in my opinion, the pole banners are nice because they're adaptable to different seasons, and they're not really, quote unquote perishable. They can be reused many
I
times.
agree. I think that's what I put down as the
Oh.
poles as well. And then you can change out the banners throughout the year
Yeah.
once you get money in doing that.
You're
sort
not
of
going to
thing.
be able to make Disney World in 1 year.
No.
We're going to have to do this
I
step
actually
by
agree with
step.
that too, and one of the issues that I have is because all the lights you have may be beautiful at night, but you're not gonna see them during the daytime.
Right.
Where if we have banners all the time, then you'll be able to see them both times.
Yep.
And one other comment I had is that I know that there is a large area between Little Italy Restaurant and Community Center, and I would like to see maybe something large put there that could be lit, so at night of parade, we have some large display that one item would have lights on it, and I think that would look fabulous, not only the whole month, but on the final night.
By the way, that did have lights that were strung on every branch, and then they got mowed
Yes, they
over at
did.
one point, and the extension cords weren't buried and stuff, so it did have a bunch of little lights on it. This was at least 5 or 6 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah, and also in front of, what's it called? 18 East. He would turn them on and turn them off. He had a key to the little thingy, and the electrical box got removed, and now those things just are on a timer. But I know that the businesses that stay open till at least 9 PM are more than happy to go out there and turn them on and turn them off if we wanted them to.
All right.
But Dave Elstock said that, and I know that Benny has made the same comment at Little Italy. I mean, I would love to see, it's an announcement, we're open for business still, and plus it makes the mall look nice.
Sure.
But lights just for those particular malls, and then the banners, I think, as well. I know that on the south side, you can do banners without having to retrofit any plugs for now. And just a question, I mean, we've got 64 poles on Main Street, or is it 56? I can't remember.
64 sounds right.
Why not just put them on every corner of every mall rather than in between? Because that's going to take up a lot of expense if it's on every corner, then
I just picked those 4 areas that
Yeah.
y'all said to focus on.
No, but in terms of banners, I mean, if we just do the 4 sections, then we could still afford to do something on Hal McRae, or I was thinking Verona, because it has more.
Where do we come up with, I think Robert said he could put the lighting mechanisms on the south side. It'd take him about 15 minutes to put them in each pole.
Yes.
And we talked about doing that, so I mean, that's not in here, but we did talk about doing that.
Yeah,
As I recall.
Well, it sounds to me like we're gonna have to come up with a certain amount of money
Right,
and just make the best use of that money.
right. So when we do our budgets, however, the budget doesn't kick in until October 1st, and then
Right.
you're gonna have to start installing all this stuff like ASAP, because
Yeah.
you're gonna need time to order, install, and whatever else, so.
Yeah, as far as the electrical upgrades, I would say that's just a simple maintenance thing that needs to be done.
So
Yeah,
can they do
now.
that now?
When do you normally start decorating for Christmas?
October.
October.
Not Thanksgiving?
Well,
October?
to be ready for Thanksgiving, but right around that time, October, is when they start stringing up all the lights. It just depends who you have doing it, really.
Right.
Some people like to go all out and decorate the palm trees and all that.
Okay.
Others just put them at the bottom.
Yeah.
But, it just depends on the
Usually-
funding of lights and all, so. I was gonna ask Jerry, and I know this isn't a CRA meeting, but we need to look and see what the CRA can pay for. If it's not part of their plan, then maybe their plan needs to be amended, but if it's part of street beautification, which trees are and irrigation are, then I would think Christmas is as well.
Well,
Right.
to the extent that it's,
Advertisement.
promotional, that's good, and it certainly clearly is on Main Street. I don't know what the tie-in is to South Side with regard to promotion. You may have to pay out of general fund.
But isn't that conducive to, if they put it in their commercial core, because that's an area that the South Side
it's
has, where the
commercial
new
core,
lights, it
yeah.
is. I mean, they've got businesses
Okay.
in there, so it does fit.
And I think that, my previous review would say that that's okay. But my overall statement is, if you're spending 60% of your CRA funds on stuff like this, and 40% on bricks and mortar, then you got another problem.
Mhm.
So I'm just that's my only caveat to the fact that, you can spend this. It's just considered like advertising. You're not going to spend 60% of your money on advertising and 40% on the product.
So the CRAs have their budget. They can go in there and look at what percentage are you talking about,
Right.
right? You said what, less than 20% or less than 40%?
I
mean, they're not going to spend 40% of their funding on
reasonable
Christmas.
amount where it's necessary for promotion and advertising.
Okay.
And by the way, I did speak to Bob as well with regard to the T-shirt thing and all that. He said he seems to think we're fine, good to go.
Oh, good.
Gerald, did you hear that?
Pardon me?
Did you hear? T-shirts are fine?
Okay.
Well, anyway, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Annie.
Did we
Well,
have-
I mean, David, if you want staff to accompany her, she knows where all those lights that we currently do own are. And I know that she's got some figurines in her backyard that she stores as well. That's between you and Annie, because, she's going to be doing her little mall thing that's already been approved by council.
I would like to see what we can do also about making that storage facility actually climate controlled as well. Can't be that hard to do with a
Well, I'm
couple of
afraid that
mini
if you leave it
splits.
in there, don't the rats just love that plastic?
I don't know.
For a while, we had them stored at the hangar, one of the hangars at the airport, and there was a feeding frenzy.
Really?
Oh,
Rat poison.
rat poison,
So-
yeah.
I just have one quick question before I walk away. So it was approved, I can start soliciting businesses to bring their Christmas trees on Main Street.
I thought we approved that.
That's what I'm saying. She
Yeah.
just said it was approved, so I'm kind of.
Well, I
concerned.
thought this was approved already a while back when you talked
I-
about the Christmas on Main
We
Street.
said we
and
were going to
stuff.
hold it off until y'all did the budget.
Oh, sorry, I didn't remember
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Okay, let me ask a question.
Yeah, if you're gonna
Right.
speak, sir, you have to come up to the microphone.
Okay.
David, let me ask a question. Speaking of the South Side, when can they start installing the electrical upgrades on the light poles that's there?
We can schedule that in the very near future, in the next couple of weeks probably.
Does anybody know
Okay.
how much money we have in our CRA funds?
We can't.
I haven't seen the budget. We can't discuss CRA stuff
We,
anyway.
it
We have a
sounds, it
meeting at
sounds
the end
like
of the
we
month.
need, we need to schedule a CRA meeting so that we can
Well, you
actually.
got one scheduled the 26th.
Very good. So we'll dive in deep on the 26th,
5:30.
5:30.
Jerry's all packed and ready to go.
Can we all,
Oh,
can we all attend?
We're not done yet.
All right.
I'm not,
Okay.
I haven't packed
You're
anything.
like,
I haven't unpacked.
Are we gonna do any?
You have to come up.
My leg is bothering me for real. Are we gonna do any decorating in our expanded boundaries out in that area?
What's your name, sir?
My name is Gerald Snell,
His leg is
320 East
wounded.
Washington Street, Avon Park, Florida, off Memorial Drive.
Very good.
so his question is, are we going to do any decorations or decorating on the expanded areas of Highway 27 that the CRA expanded to?
That's
And
outside, too.
that's going to be up to the CRA board because it's their money.
Okay.
What?
Okay.
Perhaps that
we
needs to
can
be
bring
on
it
the
up on the
next agenda.
26th.
To be determined.
Yep. If we're gonna have a lot of items on that meeting, though, we're gonna need to be more than just 5:30 unless we plan on pushing the other one back.
You want me to set it at 5 o'clock?
I would say so.
Okay. Got that?
I won't be here at 5 o'clock.
Jerry, that's something.
5 after 5?
Some of us work, you know.
When
Wanna make
can-
it 5:15?
When
Is
can you be here?
5:15?
Can you be
I
5:15?
probably won't be here for that meeting because I'm scheduled to go to a conference that that Monday and Tuesday. So I probably won't be here for that whole meeting.
Okay, so
Or
there's no
council?
conflict at 5 then?
So she won't be here.
I won't be here
So we'll-
unless something change.
Okay, so we'll just set it at 5 then.
Yeah, y'all can do
Any,
that.
any comments you want to make, just make sure you give them to David before the
What day
meeting.
was that, David?
Thank you.
26?
Okay, back to the task at hand here. Do we want to make any decisions now as to what we want to see? I heard some support for the banners.
I like the banners.
I like the banners, and I like to see some lights at that one location I talked about.
In
I
front
see.
of Little Italy.
In the middle, in the medium, in the mall area across from the community center.
I see.
There's a big, really big space there. There's two big spaces there, actually, so.
You're talking about those 3 sections in that one little
Yeah.
mini mall? But that's where Christmas trees go.
Did we move those to there?
That's where the business Christmas trees go.
Oh.
Wait, you're talking about the 3-section little tiny
Just
mall
before-
that's in
just
front of the
before you get
community
to the
center?
tracks.
Okay, so that's that one little, okay, the one on the east side of the tracks or the west side of the tracks? Going away from City Hall or closer to City Hall?
East.
Okay, so the ones in the east is where Annie puts trees. There's usually 3 trees there or something, so it's decorated to some extent. Why don't we have, I mean, if she's gonna be bringing her proposal,
Actually,
because trees are like $100 a piece or more.
Anne Marie Feeney.
Anna Marie Feeney, 234 East Camphor Street, Avon Park, Florida. Actually, it was discussed at the last time we talked about Christmas on the Mall that Santa was going to be moved to the gazebo area.
Right.
And usually that's where the schools put their trees up. And since Santa was going to be moved there and he wasn't going to be up there, up at the, by the railroad tracks, we were going to move the school trees up there.
So there's nothing designated for the 3 little spots that are in, I say 3, it's that
That's
one
going to
mall.
be for the schools.
So the
School
s-
Spirit Way has to move because we're going to
Okay.
have Santa Claus at the gazebo. That's where it
So you
was.
have them designated in front of the community center?
Yes.
Not in front of Napa?
No.
Okay.
And
In
that
front-
section in front of the community
in-
center
actually
only
in
has
front
2
of Napa,
vintage lights on it.
actually-
One on each side.
Yeah.
They're on opposing ends, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
But is there electrical in,
Yes.
under, yeah, that was
Yeah.
installed.
Yeah.
So there's
But
power there.
in front of Napa's Veteran Square. It's in front of Dr. Gelf's building is the gazebo, and in front of the depot.
Okay. So do we need to have a special meeting on this or what?
I would like to add to the listing is the south side commercial area added to the 4, with the 4 spots that's to be decorated. I would like to add that to the listing as well.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to be talking about Christmas decorations and expenditures from a CRA perspective on the 26th.
Yes.
So that will more or less be our Christmas decoration meeting, right?
And what I'll do in the meantime is I'll go ahead and just kind of prepare you a guideline budget
Yes.
of what we're looking at based
Please.
on what I've heard tonight with the banners and stuff, and see what we can do.
And even if we do the banners, the cheapest thing is lighting. If you just do
Right.
the little lights like we've continued to do, so I mean, that does have an effect. And the veterans triangle, the little veterans park, that typically has that one tree, and then that little pergola has stuff on it too, but that thing is full of thorns now. I don't know if staff goes in there and actually does anything with that. It's a dangerous bush. That bougainvillea is
Yeah.
horrid. But anyway,
Makes a good security fence.
yeah, I mean, I'd like to see if the CRA, now the advisory board won't meet for another month, right? They just met, so we will meet, but we won't have any input from the CRA. So are we going to designate funding for the Christmas lights without the advisory boards?
I would.
So you may want to send an email to all of them and let them know that we're doing that. So if they want to attend, they can have input that night, right?
That's a great idea, yep.
Do you want to do a dual meeting or just let them know that we're doing this? Because they won't be able to speak other than for themselves, not as a board.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Does it matter?
They can speak as
They
individuals.
can speak as individuals.
Okay, well, as long as they know.
Okay.
Let them know that. Okay, do we need anything else on this here tonight?
I don't think so.
All right.
Okay. Your next one is Deputy Mayor Jim Bernard has requested a garbage pickup map. It is attached in your packet. It's color-coded, and Ronnie's already gone, so if you've got any questions on it.
Nope, I just really wanted the map because there's times that citizens have called or asked or want to know what was their garbage they picked up because they thought it was this day and their garbage wasn't picked up. And I thought this was just something good for all of us to have. So if somebody calls and says, hey, I thought my garbage was picked up today, and you can look and say, well, it was supposed to be, and then we could always call the city if we have to. Also, I know there's a lot of new people that are moving into the community, from what I've seen, and I think it's good to be able to make them aware of it, not only as good neighbors, but as far as people representing all the areas of Avon Park. It'd be good for us to know this information, so it was for information only.
Also, we'll be doing another one for you when we get the second clam truck. We'll have a separate map showing what those routes are as well when we
Okay.
have both trucks running.
Yeah, one thing I like about this map too, because we talked about the new lights on the Main Street, that eventually we would like to go ahead forward LED lights throughout the city. We could use a map like this to divide it like in 2 or 3 sections to give to Duke Energy, because they said they would like to do a minimum of 200 at a time, and we have about 600 total. So we could use a map, something like this, to divide streets or areas and say, do this section and see how many lights there are and so on and
Quadrants.
so forth. Yep.
Sure.
I like the idea. Thank you for the map.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on my update for you that's in front of you, the red items are what the changes are. For Classic Caladium, I've got a contractor going to be out there tomorrow morning to look at the roof issues. Most of the roof leaking are where just some of the screws or some of the sheet metal screws and stuff have come out, and it's just leaking down the girders and going in some of the areas there. Some of it was hurricane damage, and the insurance adjuster is still working on that. Moving down to the Florida Rural Infrastructure Grant from DEO, the $720,000. I spoke to Robin Lyford today. The application is under review by 5 agencies. She said it looks good so far, but will probably take another month before they actually do the award on it. But 3 of the 5 agencies have done their preliminary review of it so far. Early voting. Does council wish to have early voting this year? We do have an election. According to Ms. Ogg, the cost will depend on the amount of days and hours chosen, if any, for early voting. They would probably need around 5 election workers, and with delivery and extra equipment, consumables, etc., she would look at around $2,000 to $2,500 if we went with the 5 days again.
And that's budgeted right now, isn't it?
That is in a new budget year, so I would say it is not budgeted at this time.
Okay. I would just simply say that some people do work. It's going to be a struggle to get people out this year anyway because it's not a presidential election. I personally would like to see, I believe voting is on a Tuesday. I would like to see early voting on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then the day of on Tuesday. So we have 4 days of voting.
They have to have a day off in between the early voting and the regular election.
Well, then Saturday and Sunday, take Monday off and have Tuesday.
So you want 2 days.
2 days of early voting.
Sunday?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what we did last
they
year.
do it. They do
You
it
did a
Sunday.
Sunday? Okay.
Yeah,
So you're saying Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday?
correct. That
Okay.
gives people, anybody who's working, that's the best opportunity to come in. There's no excuses at that point. If you didn't want to come, you just didn't want to come.
Yeah. What about mail-in votes? How are we going to handle that?
Mail-in is a separate thing.
Ballot.
Absentee ballots, that's handled separately.
Who actually counts those absentees? Isn't that handled by Penny Ogg's office?
It's handled by Penny Ogg and the canvassing board, which brings me to my next item. The canvassing board, according to our charter.
Well, let's agree on
Okay,
the
sure.
early voting first.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna have 2 days of early voting?
Saturday and Sunday, and then skip Monday and have Tuesday the day of.
And what would that cost be?
Well, it was $500 a day for the full 5
Oh.
days. But let me see what it would cost. It's probably, I'm guessing, it would
About
probably still be
1,000.
around $1,500, I would imagine.
So on the Saturday and
set up.
Sunday, what would be the hours? 8 to 7?
I think they
have
do
set
8
hours they normally do.
I think they do 8 to 5 or 8 to 6
Yeah,
maybe.
They do it less on the weekend, I think.
Yeah.
So if they do it less on the weekend, why not have it Friday, Saturday?
I still think they do it till 7.
Let me find out, and I'll send you an email to that effect tomorrow to let you know.
Because to me, a lot of people will do it after work is done on their way home, but if it's on a weekend, you know, are they gonna get out of bed and come and vote? I don't know.
Well, you still have Tuesday. Tuesday's open
Well,
till
yeah, that's
7.
true, but if they're working, I mean, I guess if you're really gonna vote, you're gonna come out and vote.
Yeah.
I like Friday and Saturday, that's just me.
I can't support Sunday voting.
We did it last year, or last time.
But it was part of the early voting.
I just
And that was a countywide election.
I just
Yeah.
don't support it.
Why not?
Cause I just don't think it's right.
To vote on Sunday?
I don't. That's me.
Okay.
It's qualified enough by just saying I don't support it.
Okay.
Let me get some more information from Ms. Ogg on this, and I'll send you all an email and we can discuss it at the following meeting.
Yeah, I just
Because
want at
we
least
got time
one-
on this.
I just want at least one weekend day.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Mhm.
Because
Okay.
some
Yeah.
people that work Monday through Friday, that's the last thing they want to think about. is voting.
Yep,
All right.
I agree with that.
Let me see what the actual cost would be if we do it for 2 days, either Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday, and we'll decide at the next meeting.
Yep, or even a third option of Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be all right too.
Several different ways, plenty of options.
Okay. Now, the canvassing board, according to your charter, 3 city council members not up for election will serve as the canvassing
That
board.
narrows it down, doesn't it?
It pretty much does. Now, in the event that one of the council members cannot make it, then the city attorney, the city clerk, or the city manager could serve in that place, but it does need to be 3 members.
Okay.
And
So
that-
obviously, we'll select as the only 3 members that are not being
That's it.
elected this year. And then the
Alternates.
we need to set how many alternates?
You can set 1
Okay.
or 3 if you need to, but the order that
I
it was
think
spelled
city
out in the
manager.
charter was.
Yeah, I think you ought to, David.
Yeah, he's on salary, so.
Done it before.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Does anybody have a problem with that?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Okay. All right, moving on, 18 East Pine Street. Right now, believe it or not, we're waiting on Mr. Brokaw. He's got to get a moving truck here to get some of his stuff out. And then we've already set it up with John McClure's office to do the closing. As soon as he gets his truck here, we're going to set up the closing the same day. So that property will be ours in the very near future. Holiday lighting, we already discussed. We discussed gov deals. That's all I had on my updates for now.
What about our basketball court? We're in August and we still have nothing.
That is correct, because we haven't got a second bid on our fencing yet. And I'm not going to do it with 1 bid. So as soon as we can get the second fencing contractor there, we're kind of at their mercy right now.
How many options do we have in the county for fencing bids?
4 maybe?
Okay.
Jerry, would it be feasible that if David contacts 4 different people and he says, I need a response by X date, and they don't submit and only one submits information, wouldn't you go with that 1 bid? I mean, have you given everyone a deadline of I need your bid by X date?
No, we've called them and said, come give it. We haven't given them a deadline.
I think it's time to give them a deadline.
I agree.
Yeah, there's no, I mean, the only issue we've run into is the federal grant for the airport.
Yeah, but this is way below,
not-
this is
Yeah.
below his procurement.
It's not, yeah, it's
This
not,
is
that's not a problem.
17,000. I can approve it, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it on 1 bid.
Yeah, but if you give a deadline to everybody and everyone gets the same email, then, you know, I need your date, I need it by X time, X date,
Yeah.
or
just
we'll move on without
Yeah.
you, without your consideration.
At that point, you can just simply say they're not really interested.
Yep.
So how far does he have to go? I mean, does he need to advertise this? I mean, he's doing it because it falls below below the threshold,
Yeah,
right?
Well, he doesn't even have to go out to bid it, so, I mean, the way that.
I felt better about going out for bid. 'cause
I'd give him
And
deadlines, David.
I think that's laudable, and just be saying that
Yep.
if you only end up with 1 bid, that's certainly not going to be a problem
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah, you'll be waiting forever.
I'll give him 2 weeks.
Okay. I'll have an update at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Name and address, please.
Houston Foy Hall, 820 West Pleasant,
Okay.
citizen. Just out of citizen's curiosity, I know Mr. Brokaw. I had an opportunity to meet him actually 8 years ago. Got to know him pretty well. Just out of curiosity, and I was aware that he had offered the donation of that property at 18 East Pine. Just out of curiosity, has the city discussed or the council discussed the plan of what they will do with that structure? Is it to be raised or utilized?
We haven't gotten a firm date or a firm direction on that, but most likely it will be torn down.
You'll deal with that in conversation as it is deeded then, I
Yep.
assume? Just a curiosity. That's all
Yeah.
I ask.
Okay.
It's no building, it's pretty sound.
No, it's not.
No, it's not sound at all.
It's been deemed uninhabitable, and it's,
I've never been inside.
Okay.
well, don't go
Yep.
inside, because you'd be trespassing, so don't.
Okay.
David, I have a question, just to go back. I know.
Yep, all right.
On
You can't
the-
speak unless you're at the podium, sir.
Okay, I just one other question. I know you went through the DEO grant and all. So right now, we've got one grant for sure, obviously, which is the one we've been dealing with all along with the DEO. The other one is the rural infrastructure grant, right? So we're still going to be short how much money? Was it 1.69?
1.4 maybe?
Okay.
No, that's not right. One of them's for 761,000, one of them's for 720,000. So that's 1.4, 1.5 right there. The total price is 2.4.
So we don't have a contractor yet for the work, right? Or we do?
We do not. We just had the pre-bid meeting last Friday.
So when do we expect to have that
We've
tab?
given them 2 weeks to get their prices to us.
And this is for the underground construction?
This is for the total construction.
Right, so then once you get those bids in, we have to approve it, then they have to mobilize, so you're
Yeah.
talking maybe a month and a half before it even gets.
Well, you
They
still
all
need,
know that our deadline is September 30th. The shovel has to be in the ground by September
well,
30th.
and you still need to get that updated contract, which Fraser Caraway is working on for that underground work, because it's got to include things like that, the 5 million insurance and things like that
Yes.
CSX require.
Mhm.
So I assume that I was told the 17th was the deadline to get that to you guys.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, so,
Well, knowing that we're gonna have a shortfall no matter what, because we know the contract is
We-
gonna be a lot less than,
Yes. And we still have the forgivable loan that we've applied for that's 3.5 or 4.5 million.
I don't understand that forgivable. I mean, can you explain that?
No, I can't. That's something that.
Is there a website I can go to and look at what it is?
Let me
I
find
mean,
out for
who's
you
the
tomorrow.
Who is the benevolent firm that's gonna give or is it a state or a federal thing, or what?
Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Can I help? Corey Lane with Nucor Steel, 22 Nucor Drive, Frostproof. So the loan is through the Department of Environmental
DEP.
Protection at the state
Okay.
level. And the 80% forgiveness, from what I remember, is going back a month or two now, is based on the city census data from 2010. So there were a couple requirements of being below 10,000 in population, which in 2010 at Avon Park was. And
So
I
it's
forget
based
the
off of
other
2010
requirement.
census, not
Yeah, it
2000.
has to be based off the last approved census. So the representative at DEP, we're on the phone with them when we were tracking some of this down, basically said Avon Park met the requirements for the forgiveness portion, which is 80% of whatever you apply for.
So
Now,
you-
that's unofficial, but all indications are that you would.
So you
make it.
apply for it, but then how do you pay for the project? You get the money from the state, from
It's
the
a-
DEP?
You get a loan from DEP and then apply for their forgiveness. I'm not sure the timing, if you know beforehand.
Do you know if the
or not.
forgiveness has to do with the population of the county, which is the, what's it called? The RASEC designation, which is a
Ready.
rural area of critical economic concern?
That may have been the other criteria. I don't recall exactly, but all I recall from the conversation was that they verbally indicated that Avon Park would be approved for the forgiveness.
Do you have
And
any
we have a
Get that in
contacts?
contact
writing?
at that agency.
Yeah, do you have any contacts for the city administration to possibly get further
We've
information?
actually got a file on that Manuel did when he was here. I just have to find that. And
I can,
we've got contact information of that, but I'll get
and I
that to you.
can resend it if needed. Sure.
Okay.
I'd like to, you know me, I'm probably gonna call and speak to somebody and see how it works. That's just me. So, if there's a
Yeah,
website.
and they were open to that. They said anyone can call anytime with questions.
Yeah.
So.
And
Okay.
also, Ronnie just told me tonight that he had found another grant opportunity that he was throwing in there, and he thinks that was another one through DEO.
So, because there's new money in the DEO, remember DeSantis now has another fund, another super fund for that, and they're just itching to give that money away, and I didn't know if we can just kind of tag on to that as a second year funding for this project because the first year wasn't sufficient. I don't know if the governor would be willing to do that, and it's based off of jobs as well. But if it's an 80% forgiveness, then there's a 20% that we have to pay.
Yeah, but that wasn't it like $4 million? Because that was
Well,
going to
I think
include
you
some
guys
updates.
determined what amount. I mean, the shortfall, to go back to that real quick, was the DEO grant was 971. The second grant you were working on was in the neighborhood of 700,000.
720.
720, so that got you to 1.6 million of the 2.4 for the total project. So I believe your shortfall is about 800,000 for this project.
Probably be a
But-
little more because 140 or so thousand was in engineering. So we're looking at contract construction dollars.
Okay, so somewhere in 800 to 900.
Yeah.
But I believe you applied for 4 million for this loan to cover other projects beyond just the 27 expansion.
Updates to the sewage plant
Yeah,
and stuff.
so it depends how you want to look at it. Those other projects, 80% of those are being covered. That was not if you get this loan. You know, so this individual project, in theory, is covered, and then you're getting additional funding for these other projects.
Correct.
That David is out of my court. I don't know.
Okay.
But we're glad to help. Basically, put you in contact with the right people.
I'd
They've
like
been
at least a
very easy to
website I can
work.
go to and look at the program itself. I mean, is it federal or is it state?
It's state.
It's state DEP.
I have the specific name and phone
For-
number of the person that
FERDAP?
is over the program, or can help you with that.
Okay, thank
Get it
you.
to-
Okay,
Okay. Thank you very much.
I'll get it to all of y'all
okay,
tomorrow.
thank you.
All right. Anything else?
I just have one comment. If you're going to specifically invite the CRA committee to the meeting, then you should notice that
Mhm.
as part of the noticing, okay?
We've got to notice it anyway since we've moved it to 5 o'clock.
Well,
No,
not
he's
just
talking
not
about the
done-
advisory.
Not just this CRA board, I'm talking about the CRA committee needs to be noticed since you're specifically inviting them to come in and
Okay.
speak, okay?
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Is there anything else for the good of the city?
One last thing for David. I know that we no longer, if Manuel is no longer here, so who does P&Z at this point?
Jeff Schmucker?
So he does it all for like if someone needs a fence or a window permit, they go to
Oh,
Jeff?
no. We're doing that in code enforcement.
Okay. Does that make them, are they available all the time for that?
Yep,
So, okay, they don't need to, like, just walk in and get a permit?
correct.
Okay,
Okay.
that's all.
Anything else for the good of the city? Seeing nothing, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Seeing no opposition, we are adjourned.
7:46.
See you, Jerry? It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to
I don't know, because they must have seen me using this all the time, so maybe,
Is it ours? You said that, right?
David, are these for us for budget?
That is for your budget. Yes.
Well, not really, I'm just.
We get to take it home?
Fun time.
Yeah.
Carol Knapp, how are you?
So we just put them in the drawer?
Everybody, take care.
You want the other half?